Hello, and welcome to Resolve, an afterplay show. This is an after show for a role-playing game that does not have an actual play, where we tell you all the details of our game so you don't have to listen to it. Hi, I'm Sammie, I'll be your host. My pronouns are she, her, and I play Asiri Amoli, the Hope of the Abyss. Joining me is my wonderful co-host, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I play the Marlboro Juice and his Moogle companions, the Smogs. All of us use he, him pronouns.
We are joined today by Dee.
Hi, it's Dee again. You can use any pronouns for me, except for it, and I play Geyser, who is just really about to do something big.
Welcome, thank you for joining us today. Now that we're all here, Alex, why don't you tell us about the actual play?
Previously in EFFETE, Smog and Tau piece together details about the Butterfly Run, a worldwide race to catch a speedy butterfly said to grant wishes. Smog calls a black chocobo steed Ash to carry Geyser along. Tau uses the map to lead the party through meadows to the next checkpoint, a makeshift camp. Asiri tails back, upset by the exhaust fumes, while Tau looks for race officials. Pony strikes up a conversation with the unicorn, Glorymane, only to find she doesn't know their language. She speaks with Glorymane's bug knight companion, Sir Mizzle, about what they might do with the wish. Geyser and Smog talk about what they might do with the wish. Geyser shares that she is still being watched, and Smog suggests making a spectacle. Geyser creates a gargantuan ball of sparkles that saps the negative energy from the area. Asiri notices a governance harvestman pop in and run after Geyser's magic. With extreme violence, WorldCorps takes down the harvestman, killing all but one of its human pilots, 6584-A. While the others wrap up the scene, Smog suggests translation magic to help Pony communicate with Glorymane. They take the pilot and the harvestman, miniaturized, to sequence charter through Tau's world. Tau and Smog stay behind to keep tabs on the race. Back at Chrysalis, WorldCorps finds the avatar of Alexander Smog and Powder attending to Alrune. Asiri and Powder head to the marine biology lab to remove a sphere from Asiri's tail, while guards take 6584-A to the captain.
Now that you've heard the actual play, let's do a deep dive into the session. So we're still getting our bearings here in the world of motion, and Smog and Tau do their best to fill us in on what they know of the situation.
Yeah, I took back one of my old moves from the anachronism, which is what year is it? I figured that makes sense for getting back into a Smog that's quote-unquote from this world to fill in some information, whereas the previous Smog was just sort of joining Tau's world.
Makes sense. And also very helpful as we proceed through these last couple of places. Yeah, there's a couple things that Tau and Smog determine together, such as the whole story with this magical butterfly thing going on, and it just showed up one night, and it clearly wasn't a regular butterfly. It was moving much faster, and it glows, I believe. Scuttlebutt about this miraculous creature spread far and wide throughout this land, and it grew into a story much bigger than itself, and somewhere along the line, the idea that if you catch this thing, you'll get a wish granted is proposed, so people are pursuing it, and they formalized it into this race.
Yeah, to explain why Smog and Tau were caught off guard by it last time, we had it be that Tau really understood the lore of like the butterfly wish-granting side of it, and Smog had heard about the race, but they hadn't heard those things put together yet, and they hadn't talked about it enough to put them together before the previous session.
Yeah, I like how this thing acts sort of like a roaming legendary, where like it hangs out in an area for a little bit, but it's never in the same place twice, and its patterns are a little unpredictable, so we can't use fly to go countercept it.
I like to think in sessions about Tau and Smog, since they're both connected now, just in every world, just hang out. Or like, what if they just go zombie mode until the Tau consciousness moves?
We've implied that Tau is out living their life around the different worlds, even when they're not in focus.
Yeah.
That would be funny.
I'm sure there is a robot Tau that does shut down, but...
We've got one Tau at least left to see, so...
True.
I think Zach has also kind of been fulfilling the prophecy set out in the character art, so I wouldn't be surprised if the last Tau is the wireframe.
Well, some of those things we did talk about, so I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think I offered that one as an extra just so there was something else, though, so there might not be any lore behind it.
Zach can make whatever determination he wants to. But in my head, I was like, oh, this is Hanabi P, like, planning out and building the ring for this.
That's what I thought, too, but I did notice, like, oh, we had the puppet one, and then we're seeing more draconic Tau now, although we didn't see the dancer elements in the face, because why would we?
True. I like the freedom of choice we as players have had in this campaign, because I feel like if we had started in this world for whatever reason, the idea of a butterfly would be a little bit more mysterious, but we already kind of know that the WorldCorps kind of take a butterfly shape. Unless this is like a massive red herring and I'm just led astray.
Well, especially if it was early enough on the game where we hadn't said Chrysalis a million times. Like, Zach hadn't even kept that in his mind as the world name until recently, because we've been talking about the planet more than just Sequence Charter recently. So it would not have clicked as much.
True.
Yeah, I literally I didn't pick up that Sequence Charter wasn't the world until we went to Union Charter.
That's exactly why Smog was like, I have to show them more of this world. They need to understand it's not just this city.
That's like big brain territory, and I feel like I'm getting there, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm not on the wee woo train, you know?
We can't have that without Dex. How do y'all like Ash, the black chocobo?
So is it the fat, round thing that you shared in the voice chat, or is it...
That's what Zach shared, and I kind of figured if I got a 10 plus, that's what it would be, but that wasn't exactly how Dan described it. But he also did not describe how slim or rotund the chocobo might be.
I like that word.
I think anything is valid.
Because in my head it was like an ostrich, sort, but like big and just black.
That's a little more what chocobo usually look like. They're kind of chicken-like.
Yeah.
But there is a version called the fat chocobo, simply, that are a bit larger. And they're mounts in the MMOs, but sometimes they're like important NPCs in other games. And that's why I thought if I got a really powerful one, it would be the fat chocobo. But I think any interpretation is valid. They would still move very fast.
If they're NPCs, do they talk?
Yes, some of them talk, and sometimes it's because you found some way to talk to animals or something, if I remember correctly. But when they're talking NPCs and important, I think that's usually earlier on in some of those stories I don't remember as well.
Okay, so they don't talk all the time is the ultimate answer.
No, chocobo don't always talk. Although, I mean, sometimes they're chocobo that are the heroes of the game. There's a whole chocobo mystery dungeon series.
Oh, good.
That's cute.
Yeah, all of this to say, good thing that this one doesn't appear to talk, or else Pony might get jealous.
Yeah. I don't know if I did a great job explaining this as Smog, but part of the reason he was raising chocobo is because he was using their feathers for painting. So it was part art supplies, part raising an animal.
That's fun, actually. That's really clever.
Do they shed, like, regularly?
Birds preen pretty regularly. They'll remove broken and bent feathers and quills. I couldn't give you an exact, like, feather per day amount, but I'm sure often enough that he can make use of it.
Yeah, chocobo down is an uncommon item across Final Fantasy, but Phoenix down is really important. So it's like, I'll do something with feathers.
Now I understand Phoenix down. Like, it makes sense to me now. These are all things that I engage with regularly, and so, like, I know what it is, but having context is a whole entirely different thing.
It's funny, too, because I don't think Phoenix is always a summon when there are summons. It's one of the more common ones, but Phoenix down is always there to help be your revival item.
I do like Smog offering rides on Ash, but, like, only 2 of us in the party are, like, sized appropriately to ride a creature. Because like, no doubt. Pony, I don't think, is in the position or need for mounting another animal. That leaves Geyser and Tau to take up this creature. Geyser's just like, I don't know what the hell that is. What do you mean, right?
Bird.
That's a bird.
Birds on Earth, or Conglom, which is an Earth analog, don't get rid. That's not a thing. So guys are just like, what are you talking about? There also was further mishap because Smog gave a piece of lettuce to Geyser to kind of, endear Ash. And Geyser's just like plops it on top of them. And then Smog's like, their beak. And Geyser takes it off of their back and places it on top of their beak.
Like having a dog treat on the dog's snout, just staring at it.
Yeah, I had to get the Geisel greens in there, so that's how you gas up the chocobo.
That's a horrible sentence. I don't much appreciate.
It's literally part of the Crazy Chocobo song. Gas him up with the greens and let him go.
That's terrible.
Honestly, jail a little bit.
I imagine the bee and puppy cat. I don't know if either of y'all have seen that, but there's a part where he's screaming at her to use a sword, right? And it's in a Vocaloid voice, so it's just high and screechy, like, use your sword! Use it like a sword!
That's great.
It's pretty bad. Or the SpongeBob, the lid. The lid. The lid. The little coaxing Geyser finally figures out to get on the bird and feed it appropriately. And we take off. We start heading towards the next station marker. So Smog hands Tao the map to navigate with, right?
Yeah, I think I'd already handed the map to Tao the previous session, so they were still holding on to it.
Yeah, and we're just hours by foot because we're not running, because we don't have mass transportation here. We're not moving at a particularly fast clip. So there's a little chat back and forth between Asiri and Tao about what the race is and what's going on here.
It seems that Tao has not been informed about the WorldCorps, which kind of makes sense. Maybe they're not able to be in the loop until we actually connect the worlds.
True.
Because they don't understand that it's supposed to look like a butterfly.
Asiri has seen butterflies because that's one of the things I remember that when I connected to the world of spirit way back when, that was one of the things Dan described. So she's at least tertially aware of what a butterfly is and what it looks like. But just to have this little conversation between these two where it's just if chasing it and hunting it down that way, it hasn't been successful, maybe you should try ambush predatory actions to catch this thing. That makes more sense to Asiri living in the dark. And Tao's like, I don't know if that would work very well because butterflies are pretty fast. And Asiri's just like, oh no, prey does this all the time. And Tao's just like, I don't know if butterflies are prey. Spoiler alert, they are.
Yeah. Tao does say on this world, and Tao is also not a biologist.
That's true. Very fair. But Asiri can't answer to that because she doesn't live on the surface. And she's like, I don't know about that. That doesn't seem very plausible.
No one is an expert here, unfortunately.
We finally come up to the checkpoint station, and we're meandering through this field of grass and flowers the whole time. But there's just a bunch of butterflies ambiently around the station here, and Pony goes to investigate those butterflies to see if they have any secrets regarding the butterfly.
And she failed to look at them right, so they held no secrets.
That's incredible.
I like to think one just landed on her snout and she was just like, oh.
You got to look in a particular way. If it's not refracting around your cornea just right, you're gonna miss it.
I love role-playing games.
God.
You see a temporary camp set up for the checkpoint. They seem to have some sort of tower, a booth that people need to check in with, the very long line, and stadium seating. So probably bleachers if it's something they can pick up and pull down fast.
Yeah, it sounds like these move around with whatever sightings, whatever tracking they have for this creature.
This is the point where I'm like, there are people who don't give a shit about this wish. It's like people who play trading card games with their friends just because it's something to do.
If there's any sort of sport or event, there's going to be spectators for it as well. So I'm sure not everyone here really cares about the wish or the butterfly or whatever. They're just here for the action.
I think there's also levels of belief on the planet, because it doesn't seem like all of the NPCs we encounter believe equally that the butterfly will actually give you wishes.
There's also a clear sense that it's not the whole world chasing after this, which a lot of people would be if they genuinely believed they could get their most earnest wish granted.
It is interesting to think that so far we've been met with this fantasy facade, but we are also given motor vehicles, which are usually two things that don't come into contact very often.
Mm-hmm. It's very Shrek. There are lots of Final Fantasy that run this way. I feel like there are concepts going on with the mashing of old and new in a lot of our worlds that meet here.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
But what we do know is that car fuel stinks.
Yep.
And this back and forth between Smog and Assyria is pretty good. Just, what is that awful smell? It's exhaust fumes. It's disgusting.
You can't figure out how to do anything else here. It's very inefficient.
Oh, goodbye. Exit stage left.
Your ass hurt.
Done. I'd wager this triggers a similar response as to being near a black chimney stack in the deep sea for a series. Just like, I don't want to be here. This is not good. Not a great time.
But yeah, for Smog, it's more like, oh, I'm home in the most disgusting way possible.
Which is hilarious considering, like, a handful of episodes ago, you were on a tobacco plane being like, yes, this is exactly what it should be.
There's a difference between, like, the smoke for pleasure and industrial smoke.
True, but smoke is still smoke.
Smog holds plenty of contradictions.
This point we kind of break apart. Tao is just kind of keeping watch for authorities. Pony crosses a hill and sees a unicorn eating grass, standing there just perfectly waiting for her to come up and talk to her.
With a saddle.
With a saddle. How unsightly for a unicorn to be chained down by the weight of servitude.
Carolyn is such a delight. Because as soon as we see this unicorn NPC enter, Carolyn jumps for joy, like, oh my god! Yeah! We just kind of see, like, this immediate, like, dose of hilarious high energy.
Literally, the first fucking words are, no fucking way!
They're so excited, no fucking way. Alright, play it cool. And then, like, slicks back hair. Alright, let's go talk to them.
But Glory Main just does not seem to understand Pony, or if they do, Pony definitely doesn't understand them.
Miscellaneous horse words that neither horse understands.
I think the name Glory Main is very funny. And I was like, do they have a grill? Because it reminds me of Gucci Man, obviously.
Yeah. Horse rapper.
Horse rapper!
I mean, there's Parappa.
Is Parappa a horse?
Parappa's a dog!
Yes, I'm saying, like, if there's a dog, there could be a horse.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't beat you on that one. To give kudos to Carolyn, I love how Pony is characterized here. Clearly does not understand a word of what Glory Main is saying at all, but it's just like, yeah, like, I totally know what you're talking about. Anyway, what's your thoughts on the race? And just, like, trying to continue this conversation futilely.
Ugh, heartbreaking and hilarious. I love calling the saddle a fun and ironic accessory. A+, Pony.
A+, beautiful. It really tells us what she's thinking, too.
But it's at that point that our bug knight friend enters the scene.
Sir Mizzle, a 4-foot-tall knight in plate armor. I'm assuming that hard translucent cape is really just their wings.
But then why would there only be one?
They overlap in the back, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because they're not flying.
And I like how this guy just completely sees Pony as like, oh, you're another horse. Where did you come from, little guy?
And Pony starts talking and assures them, like, yeah, I'm talking. You're not going insane. I'm just a talking horse. I'm not a unicorn. Funny story about that, actually.
I really was expecting Carolyn to lie, give us the preconceived notion just to try to get in good with this guy and maybe have them help her. I don't know, something like that. Because Pony has lied to people before.
It would be great if Pony was just like, yeah, I'm your conscience.
Oh, yes, your moral horse guidance is here. It's the funniest shit when Mizzle's like, oh, where did you come from? And Carolyn just says Pony be like, yeah, I'm a horse. You can say I'm from far, far away.
And we learn that Mizzle is a drone out looking for a colony. That is what he would wish for if he had the wish.
He doesn't have that much time to look for it, so I don't know what he's doing, wasting his time with this race instead of finding another colony, but, you know, to each their own strategy, I guess.
Are all fantasy bugs as short-lived as their lifespans here?
Maybe not, but drones in particular, being male and only, like, really serving the purpose of breeding in most eusocial colonies, don't live that long even compared to other bugs. Super truncated. So he may not have a lot of time.
Yeah, Siri wasn't there to fact check, and Pony did not interrogate this, so I wonder if his real wish would be for an extended life.
Interesting.
We also don't really know what's going on with Glorymane. Maybe there's something he needs to help Glorymane with.
Like, we had a lot of interaction, i.e. Pony did, but we didn't give them the whole party barricade of questions.
And perhaps that's for the best, because it gave us space for some other scenes.
Oh, good.
So coming off this conversation where Pony got to ask about the wish, I was like, oh, I was also going to do that, but with Geyser.
It was such a deep conversation. It really got to the heart of our motivations. Smog's like, what would you do? And Geyser's like, well, I want to be strong again and put my world back. And Smog's like, do you have to wish to do that? And then Geyser's like, yeah, kinda. And then Geyser asks Smog if he's gonna wish for more juice, because I don't think that's a question that made sense, but Alex went with it, and I appreciate that.
I thought you were just trying to ask it in a roundabout way, because I was like, oh, it's about Juice's injury. Like, no, I know that Juice is supposed to live a long and happy life. I don't need to do anything with that. The missing eye stalk should be okay.
Or you could go get Alexander Avatar Smog, take the pipe, and just glue it back onto Juice.
I don't think that would work.
I mean, you just have the stalk and no eye. unless you would to like fashion a psycho glass eye.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
A laser eye.
Ooh. Cyber eye.
Cyber eye. I shouldn't be giving people ideas.
But Smog's answer was really sweet. He wished to see Tao again. And I was like, oh, my heart.
Yeah, so this is the same Smog from the start that will eventually do the Zeta Flare that we saw. So has gone somewhere that Tao is not, and missed Tao, and has come back and spent, I'd suppose, years if he's now from this world. Maybe with Tao, maybe like just has memories of Tao going back because Tao has now been inserted in this world. Not exactly clear.
It's nebulous until proven otherwise, so
Yeah.
Don't stress. Tao is here, Smog is here, we're having a good time waiting for the butterfly race. Asking really deep philosophical questions of our clown friends.
Geyser and Smog continue, and it goes from the wishes to a little bit about Geyser's background. Geyser tells Smog, I don't remember a tower where I came from, but there are things that were the same as Tao is. And Geyser doesn't know the word Vocaloid, so Geyser understands Tao as being something in a computer, and that can be in multiple computers at once. And so it was, I think I understand, but it wasn't where I came from. Smog asks Geyser what year it is, and Geyser's like, I don't know.
I appreciate how this conversation shifted suddenly from interpersonal banter into deep conversation based on that one question alone. Something about staking an exact time period for Geyser just feels wrong. Time feels so nebulous for that concept. Like, it's hard to feel grounded in it.
In Geyser's dream world, originally, Geyser could feel the passage of time on Earth. She was observing time passing on Earth. It was never the same in her dream world. the only reason why Geyser has figured out how to like keep track of time is the time that she spent in the real world and the fact that she has an electronic device. Otherwise, it's like drinking only Sunny D and thinking you know what orange juice is.
We also got to use this comparison to contrast the tragedies of Geyser and Tao, because in Geyser's world, she was shunted out into the quote-unquote real world and became a problem to be dealt with. Whereas in Tao's world, someone close to them decided to abduct people from the quote-unquote real world to try to power their paradise.
That's, like, intense. Geyser also predictably didn't understand at first, but got it in the end. I don't know if Zach has posted any more background lore or if that's something that came up over the course of the campaign, but I didn't know about that. What I knew was about the creators bullying.
That's part of the plot of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, right?
No, it's the part of the other game that I can't remember the name of now that Tao is based on. I knew about that from talking with Zach and doing Tao's introduction episode. So it's like, realistically, Tao and Smog would have been talking for however long they've been here. They would get to know each other decently well. I don't think Zach would be upset if I start bringing these pieces of backstory together.
And it's really good to talk to Geyser about this in particular, and because I think way back at the start of the game, there's a little bit of conversation between Geyser and Tao about how they're both imagined beings created by a real person in some sense. But I don't know if it ever really hit home to Geyser that they have a lot in common.
No, it didn't. Early game, Geyser was solely focused on problems and issues.
And the creation of them.
There wasn't much deep interaction between Tao and Geyser up until Geyser turned herself into a clam.
There's a couple people that Geyser just needs to sit down and have like a dedicated chat with, and Tao is certainly a big one.
That's a point that Smog makes directly here, because Geyser says that her goal is to build her world back up and help people there. And Smog is like, well, that's exactly what Tao is doing. You need to talk to Tao about doing that.
It's definitely something that I have in mind. There's a lot of little pieces that I have in mind. I feel myself finding it easier to grasp the thread and make these connections. And there's a tad more forethought. And this is something I've spoken with Dan about too. I need to have a conversation with the master.
Yes. Yes, you do.
and I kind of shot myself in the foot a while ago because I headcanoned Geyser doesn't really sleep because Geyser doesn't need to sleep, which makes perfect sense, but it's also pigeonholed me into all of my experiences of the world of the lost have never been of my own interest to go. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to come up with some things. And quite frankly, I think I now, as of last session, have justification to take off on a whole bunch of tangents. But I also don't want to do the D and Friends adventure, like I'm doing everything and everyone's just like dragging along. And not that Dan would purposely favor me over other people. I want to stay with other party members.
I get that. But at the same time, I feel like Geyser hasn't had a lot of substantial side adventures, so I'm, as a player, okay with seeing you sort of build whatever narrative you have in your mind, because Geyser up to this point has been sort of in the back, they've made some moves, and she's done a couple of things, but I'm waiting for Geyser to kind of take that step forward and progress into the changes that they've had over this entire game.
It's time to talk about it, especially because it's going on with Pony 2. Geyser and Pony are about to have a playbook change.
Da, da, da.
Da, 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 da. I realize that I have so many links now. I've already taken so many advancements that I could just, at any point, spend all of my links. Not even all of them at this point. Just do the rest of the advancements and move on. I said I was going to do it for last session, but life started lifing and I didn't even think about it. And I didn't think about narratively how it would make sense. But the end of this conversation kind of set me up perfectly because I had taken the move that I forgot about. It's called the Path to Dawn. When you make a realization about yourself, roll with dark. The line of interrogation from Smog about Geyser's wishes, what it actually means, what Geyser actually wants, is quite clearly like a realization about yourself. So not only do I have the ability to take all the advancements and move on, now I have the narrative justification. So
yeah, I loved how this worked out. I love that we had this big conversation and you triggered one of your cool moves and got to realize something yourself out of it. Honestly, this is one of my favorite scenes that I've been in this whole game.
And can we talk about what you realized? Because that's such a fucking bombshell.
Honestly, that was like the most on the fly stuff. I have a confession to make. I get really, really nervous when I'm like on the spot. I didn't think it through. I jumped in like, oh, before we move on, can I do this? Because this is related to that. Because we were like straight up moving to the next scene. Dan's like, yeah, so I did the roll and I got it. Dan's like, oh, what did Geyser realize? And I'm like, and I just blurted that out. And then I was like, oh, wait, that works. Geyser, from the very beginning of this campaign, has been kind of unkempt, kind of scrungly, like her afro's not really shaped well, her teeth are kind of janky, her clothes are tattered, generally afflicted appearance-wise. That is because she has a parasitic relationship with her creator. And it was from when she was in the dream world, when Jilly, her creator, was emotionally strong. Geyser wasn't as needed, and so she decreased in energy. And then when Jilly became emotionally weak, Geyser became strong because she was needed, and she could like pull Jilly into her dream world. But Geyser realized that once the dream world shattered, that parasitic connection shattered. And the reason why Geyser still has that parasitic connection is because she casted that magic on herself to keep track of her. I love the way the move is phrased as well, because you realize something that you forgot or you were forced to forget. That part is still up in the clouds. How did Geyser forget that she placed that magic on herself between her time in the real world, in the home for transferred entities, in between there and the campaign? That's a lot that I have to think about.
You gave yourself the gift of that, right? Because there's so many ways you could take that. Geyser could have forced herself to forget somehow. Jilly could have made her forget that somehow. The association of imaginary friends could something about transferring here to Chrysalis. Like, you have so many avenues to go down, so you have a lot of flexibility.
Smog has set up the possibility that there's some Linksmith in the future that's messed with his memory. Maybe they went through time via Smog and messed with Geyser's memory. Who knows?
Yeah, that's... that would be wild. Like, I feel like there is a version of Smog that would do it. I don't think it's any of the Smogs that we've encountered, but I think it could be a Smog in between, like far away enough from Geyser's. Let's give it like 300 centuries, not centuries, 300 years between, sightings. They'd be distant enough to be like, okay, this is going to be a problem in the future, or in the past, rather. I need to go and make sure she doesn't show up strong and blow us all to hell, or any number of things.
Got all the dominoes in place.
Oh. Goddamn time travel!
It was a huge, huge, huge story moment for me on multiple levels. Between the last 3 or 4 sessions, it's like, oh, you learn little building blocks, but now Geyser's learning buildings, making leaps. I think it's time. And I think that this campaign has forced me to grow a little bit as a player. So I feel a little bit more prepared to handle the story complexity on my own. Of course, it's in collaboration with everybody else. But for Geyser's backstory, that's mostly my responsibility. Changing it up like this, especially, I had no clue I was going to do or say something like that when I wrote her write-up in the beginning. So, there's truly so many ways this can go.
And that's the delight of the Apocalypse engine, and particularly Interstitial, because you have so many options to do whatever. There's not as many hard rules to throw for story creation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I made a series, I was like, okay, cool, mermaid. I didn't know we would end up with her being the Abyss at any point in time. I was like, okay, we're here now. Cool.
This is a little bit of a tangent, but I love that Interstitial lets me explore a much wider niche. In a Final Fantasy-based tabletop role-playing game, maybe I'm playing something that's particular about Final Fantasy, like the Dragoon. I'm somebody with a lance who jumps up and goes down. But being Smog, I get to explore all the different corners of Final Fantasy because I'm the Final Fantasy character.
It's him, Mr. Final Fantasy himself.
Exactly.
Top hat. After Geyser has this moment of introspection, they bring up, I'm still feeling like I'm being watched. Smog has the brilliant reaction of, well, give him a show.
This scene is a little bit of me leaking into the play. I am a very, literal person. And in that moment, I was like, oh, you tell me to do this thing, I'm gonna do it. Smog, the character, might have been like, yeah, let's literally egg Geyser on. But there was more layers to that. He could have been like, just do your best, or like, general encouragement versus literally do the Geyser thing, you know? Geyser takes Smog's encouragement literally and pulls the Goku, people of Earth, give me your energy. Except Geyser doesn't request, she just takes. Sucks up all of the negative energy for a wide radius, which also has really weird implications for Geyser's story. This entire time, Geyser has been operating under the assumption that she has to force people into a negative emotion to feed. But now she's just demonstrated that she can seek out negative emotions and suck them up. Granted, it wasn't for feeding. It was just a sparkle ball.
One hell of a disco ball.
I have been selectively choosing when to deliberately cast magic, not choose the option no unintended consequences. Dan has been very proportionate in the response. Sometimes it's been a bad thing and sometimes it's been a good thing. And I've been kind of feeling out for the scene what the riskiness level of this to go awry, you know? But these were some consequences this time. I'm glad we had this next part because I like playing combat scenes as a discarded. Geyser's Sparkle Ball summons the governance. They blip into existence in the air. They seem to be chasing after Geyser's Sparkle Ball.
Meanwhile, everyone at the camp is enthralled by this thing and chasing the ball around as Geyser moves forward to confront the governance harvest man.
Yeah, so we've got like this pack of probably magical creature people being like, ooh, sparkly, I feel great. All of my anxiety and self-doubt is gone. Look at this shiny thing. Let's follow it. Also, ignoring that death trap 40 feet in the air in front of us.
Geyser early campaign would have absolutely let innocent bystanders get hypnotized into a war with interdimensional baddies. Like, this is some real character growth. Go home. This is not safe. I am interested in your safety. Go home.
They do, which is good, because we definitely didn't need any collateral damage. Thank God we're in like an empty field for the most part. Best place to have this, because Asiri sees it, because she's off on the edge of town getting away from car smell. She's like, oh, that's a governance vehicle. That's not the Strider we're used to. Hey guys, governance is here, let's go. Sounding out like a literal alarm call, rushing in towards it with Geyser. Things spiral out of control so quickly. Like, I have to admit, my plan was to try to talk to them first, but then they fired a harpoon gun at me and got me in the tail. At that point, all is fair in war, I guess.
Geyser's the only one that sees Asiri get harpooned at least the first time, and that pisses her off, and she starts booking. This was very intense, very fast. You set off every bomb at once. There was heavy damage on both sides, and then it was done.
I do say teamwork does make the dream work. We can, clean house if we all work together.
Yeah, Smog was looking at, this terrible fight going on as Siri get hit the second time, and is like, "Hey, Tao, is it transformation time?" And they both do their ultimate forms.
Geyser and I come up underneath of it to get in and figure out stuff. Geyser dodges it, jumps in through the window, and gets inside. Siri just takes a point-blank shot to the chest. But, whatever. I'm like an abyss. Cool. Let me open the bottom of this thing like a fucking tin can. Let's go. And Siri gets... she had the first kill, quote-unquote, with Snare, I guess. But I guess she got the first actual kill because she death lasers a human that's inside. Yeah, there's 3 humans inside this thing, as well as 2 robots.
And Geyser destroyed parts of the ship and opened parts of the ship. But Siri killed someone, Geyser was just like, no. And then Tao and Smog just roasted.
Roasted.
Yeah, Tao comes in with the firebomb. Smog starts riding Juice, who starts clopping along on 4 tentacles on each side and turns into Sleipnir while he turns into Odin. And they do a Zentetsuken on on the giant robot.
God, so fucking intense. I think everyone who had the option selected Deal Great Harm.
Yeah, I think we had 3 or 4 Deal Great Harms back to back, and you're just like, oh yeah, this robot's exploding.
Yeah.
I get something that enhances the effect of something, so I had Deal Great Harm and I enhanced that. So it's explosive harm.
Disgusting. Because Assyria has great harm from Prodigy 1000 Birds. Deal Great Harm is just part of Ultimate form, right?
Yes.
So Tao has it. He just cleaned fucking house on this thing.
We destroyed everyone inside and the Strider itself.
Except for a singular pilot, which Assyria snatches up before the entire thing explodes, along with Geyser, so Geyser doesn't get exploded in.
Part of the junction shift for Smog is also revealing something hidden. So we saw that they were collecting data on us. They had files on us that were flickering in some sort of computer room. So we could possibly mine that for information once they fix the Strider / Harvest Man.
The way Dan explained it, the Striders are repurposed Harvestmen from post-war. So the Harvestmen basically can do all the same things a Strider can, but they also has a lot more armament and weapons on it. Thus, me getting harpooned. It was very painful. But Smog healed me, thank you. So...
Yes, light was just shining off of Odin's sword and healed Assyria.
I just got sucked into her abyssal amorphous body. Gross. Assyria doesn't know this because Smog hasn't shared the information that, they've got files and records on us yet. But Dan did say, and Sammie knows this, that there's a picture of all of us doing stuff particularly, but specifically a photo of Assyria with powder. And I'm like, if you touch powder governance, I'm going to eat you and risk you never enter this plane of dimensions. I'm going to kill you.
I'm gonna kill you so dead.
You might appreciate what happens next session when Avatar of Alexander Smog speaks to the captain then.
Good, because I really need Assyria, Avatar of Alexander Smog, and Terra in a room together to talk. So that is my goal for next session. If you will assist me in that, we need to clear the fucking air.
We're going there with Pody and Geyser first thing next time, so I assume Siri is going to just come into that conversation late, and probably Tao will be on the coattails.
So once I get a harpoon out of my ass, then I'll be back with the party.
Hopefully that doesn't take too long and we re-enter the world too, because I'd like to keep going with the race here.
But I do like that healing light just sealed that in my body.
A piercing! That's so cool! I can't believe this guy doesn't want to keep it.
It's like a splinter, I guess. It's not great. Also not very hydrodynamic. It is metal as fuck, though, I will give you that.
Literally.
Meanwhile, we're doing all this damage so quickly, and Pony's like, oops.
Yeah, she's still talking to Sir Mizzle, and it's like, oh shit, is that my friends?
I think I should go over there. I was was trying so hard not to crack up and failed. Afterwards, Geyser has a bit of a chat with the pilot 6584A. By the way, Geyser does not know the name. Dan was gracious enough to name the NPC for us.
Yeah, they haven't announced that they are 6584-A, which is the former naming convention the governance had for humans under their restricted society.
I've been calling him Gizba.
Gizba? That's pretty cute. I like that. Unfortunately, I don't think he would like that. This entire time, Asir's trying to restrain this fucker. He tries to grab a sidearm to shoot me, and then guys are just like, no, this is mine. Snatches the gun, which thank you, I appreciate it. I've been shot enough today. Everything he does, he's just trying to instigate that angry reaction from Geyser. And Geyser's just like, I don't think Asiri wants me to kill you, so I won't for the time being. Asiri's like, thank you, please don't kill him.
Geyser's like, you should probably die. Like, just straight up says that. Of course, there's another taunt, and Asiri's like, no.
No, picks up, it snares in her hair tentacles, so he can't do anything. Stop it. You're being a menace. We have enough questions for you as it is, you don't need to make it worse.
Geyser has a love for all things Strider. She still calls this one a crab, although there are more limbs on the Harvestman. I think
definitely has more weapons and armor. I don't remember Dan saying it has more limbs, but I can stay corrected on that one.
But yeah, Geyser's like, ooh, shiny air crab. I want it. Everyone's like, it's in pieces. Like, I don't know what you can do with that. So Geyser casts magic and makes it a tiny little ball of pieces to take back to Sequence Charter.
While that goes on, Smog has a quick moment with Pony, who just catches up with us in the aftermath. And Pony is so excited talking about meeting a unicorn for realsy this time, but is so disappointed that she can't understand her.
Yeah, and Geyser pops into the conversation and be like, you could use Google to translate. And Smog knows what's going on because he's talked to some version of Geyser long enough. He's talked to Tao long enough. He knows what's going on in Earth or equivalent around this time. And is like, your device probably doesn't have that language, but we could use magic to juice that. So that seems to be Pony's fixation for now.
I can't blame her. She's finally met her hero, so she wants to be able to understand it.
She was holding out for a hero, you might say.
Holding out for a hero for the end of the night. God, that song slaps.
Especially the Shrek version.
Yes! God, that video.
It's so funny to me that after this, Asiri asked Tao to open the portal because she still don't want to talk to Smog.
Yes, you got it. You got it.
I was considering having Smog be like, I could just, but no, he's not going to get in Tao's way.
If you had done that, I feel like Asiri would have been reluctantly yeah, time's of the essence, go ahead. But I do want Asiri to spend a little bit of time with Tao. I feel like they've had, not neglecting, but they haven't had as many opportunities as I want to hang out for a little bit. But in reality, it was just really short. We just used the portal to get through Tao's world and then straight on to Sequence Charter.
Which was a giant, I will say football-esque, but general sports stadium.
Multi-purpose sports arena.
It's hard for me to think of outdoors giant and not soccer or football.
I have definitely seen baseball fields used as football fields as well.
Yeah.
So multi-purpose, nondescript sports ball arena. But also with a sweet bandstand for the halftime show in the middle of it.
Do we have permanent box tickets?
Yes. At least I hope so. I hope Tao Prime is kind enough to give us choice seating.
After that quick scene, Tao is not able to hone in on the captain because Tao does not have that link right now, is able to hone in on Powder, so sends the party to Powder. The Smog and Tao in the World of Motion have stuck back, so when you come back, Tao is working in the World Lab, and the Avatar of Alexander Smog is helping Powder heal Ulrune.
And apparently gossiping is what you said, so I would love to know what those two are talking about. I think I already have a notion. I'm obsessed with Powder, which is not news to anybody. But with the way Dan had Powder greet everybody here, which is like, oh, hey guys, welcome back. Hey, it's here. And then fucking guy. Just completely unabashedly flirty.
We have a quick discussion about 6584-A, who has been watching Geyser and trying to kill my party members.
And himself, at this point, trying not to give away more information.
He tries to stick his face in a Siri's bubble, and she's like, stop it. Like, what are you doing? Get your shit together.
Powder rounds up some guards to take Mr. Gizba here to the captain. Asiri decides to head over with Powder to the biology lab to get stitched up, and the rest of us decide to head to the captain and hash this thing out.
Poor Powder. The conversation they just had was, all right, be safe, you be safe too. Asiri comes back like 5 hours later with a harpoon in her tail, and Powder's just like, no. The trauma.
Poor baby.
The trauma is real. Asiri's just like, it's fine.
No version of Geyser or Smog were privy to that conversation. We live dangerously.
Yeah.
Dangerously cheesy.
Yeah, I can't wait to run into Chester Cheeto in the world of the Lost.
Oh my gosh.
This combat situation we found ourselves in answers some questions and raises some questions, because clearly the governance has some sort of world travel situation going on. Otherwise, we wouldn't have met them in the world of motion. The question is, to what extent? Have they already mastered it, or are they just hacking and bypassing what we've done so far?
I don't know.
I feel like, and I said this during the session, but I didn't deep dive for that information, so Dan just kind of left it in the air. The discarded learning to deep dive is a bitch and a half. And if I didn't have Walker and Twilight in that move where I can switch stats, I would never even attempt it, although I've attempted before and just failed. My pet theory right now is that the governance is trying to steal our actual magic in order to be able to connect the worlds on their own. Hence them appearing when I put my magic in the sky and them trying to take it.
Yeah, the only connection I have now is that there was an engineer Smog before there was an artist Smog that has his suit patched up. That might have something to do with what's going on here.
I don't know, man. The Abyss is just pissed. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Asiri doesn't know what to make of all this. She's just upset that it happened.
I got a sweet crab out of it.
That's true. You did get another crab. This one's in tatters, though.
Crab collector Geyser.
Can't wait for this to be over and Geyser retires to a nice crab facility in the mountains.
Remembered as God of the Crabs.
God of the Crabs. What would y'all have done differently?
I'm completely fine with everything that I did this time. Like I said, I had one of my favorite scenes in the entire game. I also got to talk to Pony and advance that plot with her a little bit. Got to do a big fun summon. I don't think there's anything else I would have done in this session.
I think I'm good too, because like this wasn't a very like a Siri focused session. I'm cool with what happened. We kicked ass, so
It touched on everything I could ever want to do in a tabletop game. It had combat. It had discussion. I feel like it would be an insult to say I should have done something different.
We really did hit on the three pillars that are supposed to make up D&D specifically, but I feel like a lot of role-playing games: exploration, social, and combat. Those three things we hit hard this time.
oh yeah, with very, very potent magical attacks.
I thought it was so funny that Tao was just like, okay, I'm just gonna cover Geyser a little bit. Fire. It's just so funny. There was so, like, a really a good amount of good moments. So, 10 out of 10, no notes.
Let's get into the resolution phase, the segment of the show where we each get to say something about the game with no responses. What is your final say on this session, D?
Times are changing, and change is timing. You can find me on Twitter at @BacksliderD. I'm also the same on Blue Sky. I have like the regular thesky.social domain. You can find me on Instagram at IHadACowLOL. That is also my PSN name. We can exchange friend codes to play on Switch. Victoria Monet put out a really, really good music video recently called On My Mama. And it's an ode to the South and Southern hip hop and just how iconic that era was for the mainstream in the 2000s. And there were a lot of like really cute references, and it's just like a really well choreographed and visual video.
And for you, Alex?
We were talking so much about the Rammies before, but I think we're finally going to see them in the next session. You can find me on Blue Sky at Shining Crowbat. This week I'm going to recommend, I think one of the first things I recommended the show is by the same person from Trung Le Nguyen, also goes by Trungles, the Star Spinner Tarot deck. It is beautiful. It's got holographic backs. There are 4 versions of the lovers. I like to keep them all in my deck. And there is a chibi version that has very similar design to the same cards that he also sells, I think, on Etsy. But the Star Spinner deck is from some bigger publisher. I love this deck. I keep it around my desk and fiddle with it from time to time.
And for myself, we all know that the best way to pick a crab is to open it up from the bottom first. Just saying. You can find me by turning over a rock in your local creek and watching me crawl out from under it. But you gotta be quick, because I'll scuttle away. This has been Resolve, an after-play show. You can find us online at most social media sites at ResolveAP.
Except Instagram, which is at ResolveAfterPlay.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. You can buy the game we're playing, Interstitial, Our Hearts Intertwined, from its creator, Riley Hopkins, at linksmithgames.com.
All links will be included in the episode description.
Thank you again for listening. We end our turn here, so now it's your turn. Tell us what's happening in your game.